Hello, in this section I'm going to talk about Difficult Airway Society Guideline 2025. Now, due to advancement in airway management, with so many new devices and equipments came into horizon of airway management, it is required, it is necessary to have an updated guideline. And this was what was done in 2025. This was published in British Journal of Anesthesia, January 2026 issue, volume 136, page number 283 to 347. And so I will talk about the guidelines which has been published and in that particular issue, and also I will talk about the important human factors that we need to consider when practicing these guidelines. Now, first, the DAS guideline was published in 2004. And time to time it was updated, and not only DAS guidelines, so many other societies also published their airway management guidelines. In spite of all these, airway and breathing remains one of the most important complications for perioperative cardiac arrest. So we need to have a good understanding of these guidelines. We need to have a proper training on the equipments. We need to consider the human factors. We need to consider so many other things while managing the airway. And remember, precaution prevents mishap. So airway assessment is one of the most important part to prevent the airway mishaps. So let us talk about the guideline. First thing, which I just said, one historical aspect of the Difficult Airway Society guideline. In 2004, the first guideline was published. And the latest guideline is in 2025, which I am going to talk about. So let us start with airway assessment. Now, as I said, that prevention is better than best to prevent any mishap. So this airway assessment is very essential, and this will identify a potential difficult airway and facilitate a proper plan for managing that difficult airway. Now, there are so many numerous bedside screening tests which are available, but none of these tests have a very high level of accuracy. One important bedside test which I want to mention is upper lip bite test. This is the only test which has shown to have a better accuracy over the other tests for predicting the difficult airway, the upper lip bite test. So we need to incorporate this always in our airway management. Not only this, let's say there are different scores which has been developed for different scenarios for predicting difficult airway. Can also be used, like a MAUCA score for ICU patients, then your Haven criteria for pre-hospital patient for predicting difficult airway. These can also be used. So, as I said, that there are numerous bedside screening test, none good alone. Now, only the upper lip bite test, this has shown the greatest diagnostic accuracy. Now, scoring system for the airway assessment for various circumstances has been evolved. Some are validated, and that could be helpful in predicting difficult airway. So, special circumstances, airway assessment scoring system. Airway assessment scoring systems can be used. Like, for example, Haven criteria for pre-hospital care, then MAUCA score for critical care, right? All these can be used to predict a difficulty in airway securement. So, airway assessment. So, what are the recommendations for airway assessment by the DAS? Airway assessment should be performed before induction of anesthesia. Assessment should include history, examination with bedside tests, and when appropriate, review of relevant investigation, and of course the physiological difficult airway, a new concept which has been introduced, should be considered. We have to investigate our patient in wholesome, right, starting from history. If patient has a history of a previous airway mishap, that is one of the most important indicator that there could be again a difficulty we can face in management of the airway of the patient. So history should be taken properly. Combination of the bedside assessment, as I said, upper limb bite test is one of the bedside tests with greatest diagnostic accuracy. Then if required, if patient has relevant investigations in conditions like thyroid, the neck X-ray, the lateral neck X-ray, the anteroposterior chest X-ray for any mediastinal mass, etc., which would give us a relevant idea. Sometimes we need a CT scan, so relevant investigation should be reviewed, right? And physiological difficult airway should always be considered. So patient who is already in hypoxemia has a higher risk of airway mishaps due to respiratory complications. Patient already unstable, cardiovascular unstable, hemodynamically unstable. How do we plan our anesthetic agent during airway management? All should be considered to prevent any airway mishap. Now, the recent studies have shown that physiologically difficult airway, that is the difficulty in securing the airway, let's say airway mishap in term of deoxygenation and hemodynamic imbalance seen in patient with or without anatomical airway difficulty is physiological difficult airway. So physiologically difficult airway should always be considered, especially in critically ill patient. Okay, next is planning and strategy. Now this is very important, planning and strategy before taking the patient off for airway securement. So preformed airway strategy is fundamental for the success of airway securement. So a preformed strategy, right, is fundamental for airway management and should be formulated keeping in view the result of or the finding of airway assessment. Now the strategy should be such that all the different steps of airway management, like face mask ventilation, securement of supraglottic airway device, laryngoscopy and intubation, front of neck access, all should be which has been assessed in the airway assessment, and if any difficulty is found in any of these steps, it should be taken into consideration, and alternate options and alternate steps should be always formulated in the strategy. So strategy should include any anticipated difficulty in face mask ventilation, supraglottic airway device insertion, tracheal intubation, and front of neck access, and also we need to consider form of strategy in case of physiological status of the patient, right? So the linear form of the strategy is still maintained in 2025 guideline, that plan A is tracheal intubation. We'll talk about what all the things we do in plan A. Plan B is supraglottic airway device insertion. Plan C is final attempt to the face mask ventilation, and plan D is emergency front of neck airway access. So the linear form of the flowchart is still maintained, and any difficulty when we are doing the assessment of the airway in any of these steps, plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, is there, we should keep it in mind during formulating our strategy and planning. Now, apart from this, if any of these steps we have an issue, then we should consider the option of awake tracheal intubation. Now, it has shown that awake tracheal intubation is associated with a higher rate of success and lesser airway mishaps. So, any difficulty in tracheal intubation or supraglottic airway device insertion or front of neck access is there, or difficult mask ventilation is there, then we can go for awake tracheal intubation. So, is difficulty anticipated? Yes. Awake tracheal intubation is appropriate? Yes. We need to perform the awake tracheal intubation. If difficulty is not anticipated and awake tracheal intubation is not appropriate, then only we go for the asleep intubation, right? Okay. So, this is how we have to plan. So, what are the recommendations in planning and strategy of DAS 2025 guideline? The airway management strategy should address any anticipated difficulty in tracheal intubation, supraglottic airway device insertion or ventilation, face mask ventilation, and emergency front of neck airway access. The airway management strategy should be guided by any history of previous difficulty. If any difficulty is anticipated in plan ABCD, awake tracheal intubation should be considered, as we just now discussed. The airway management strategy should be clearly communicated to anesthesia assistant. So, the role of anesthesia assistant, the human factor, is very important, and they are the people who would help you in airway management. So, they should be always kept in loop. Airway management should be discussed as a part of theatre team briefing. Patient position should be optimized before pre-oxygenation and for tracheal intubation. Equipment for delivering plan A to D must be immediately available in all areas where airway management is performed. Out of hours airway management is associated with increased risk, so more proper planning is required for that. Optimal location for airway management should be considered. If it's a difficult airway, then the non-operating room, anesthesia, etc. should be avoided. It should be done in a more controlled setting. Then consider a checklist when performing an emergency tracheal intubation. Right. So, always checklist should be ticked on, and then only we have to perform the tracheal intubation, so that we don't face a problem when we require any special equipments. Okay. And apart from this, what are the important monitoring which is suggested by the DAS Difficult Airway Society? Standard monitoring. Standard ASA monitoring should be attached, that is your ECG, NIBP, pulse oximetry, right? Capnography is must. Capnography is the gold standard for let's say correct placement of ET tube. Let's say waveform capnography is considered gold standard for the successful airway securement. So, standard monitoring is recommended. So, ECG, your NIBP, pulse oximetry is must. Then your capnography is gold standard airway monitor. So, this everyone should be well versed in understanding the waveform of the capnograph, and it should be properly working. Apart from this, inspired and expired oxygen monitoring would be very helpful if we are for seeing the success of our pre-oxygenation. So, inspired and expired oxygen monitoring. And apart from that, wherever it is feasible, then neuromuscular monitoring should also be used. Neuromuscular monitoring should also be used. So, this would help us in seeing the proper relaxation of the patient, proper paralysis of patient to attempt the airway management, because emphasis has been given in this DAS protocol, the 2025, that neuromuscular blockade, a proper a neuromuscular blockade would improve the mask ventilation and facilitate the tracheal intubation. So previously when it was thought that if it's a difficult airway, do not give neuromuscular blocking agent, has really been challenged, because neuromuscular blockade improves and decreases the difficulty of mask ventilation and intubation. So what are the recommendations for monitoring for DAS? The recommendation is waveform capnography should be checked before induction of anesthesia. Audible SpO2 tones should be enabled before induction of anesthesia. Continuous uninterrupted waveform capnography should be used throughout all the phases of airway management. Quantitative neuromuscular monitoring should be used to confirm the adequate neuromuscular block before tracheal intubation attempts wherever it is feasible. Institutions should provide equipments that enables patient monitoring in accordance with the current recommendations. So it's a responsibility of institution also to provide with all these important devices.